When it comes to chasing the next best yield, the problems inherent in DeFi today make it all that more difficult and leave some questioning, is it worth it? My name is Firoz from decentralizedchain.com. Welcome to another video. If it's your first time here and you want to learn more about crypto, whether it's news, insights, or analysis to help you get that edge, start now by subscribing and clicking the bell so you do not miss a thing. Today, we are going to talk about one particular project that's looking to simplify crypto investing when it comes to yields. The issue we face today that certainly becomes a blocker for your everyday investor who might not have much to start with in the first place are firstly high gas fees. With the Ethereum network becoming congested, with the increased number of dApps and transactions, the gas fees are skyrocketing and literally making these applications non-viable and non-profitable for retail investors. Imagine a small investor who wants to deposit $1,000 in DeFi investment apps, needs to pay $50 to $100 in gas fees upfront, and a similar amount again when the user needs to withdraw to exit the pool. Then we have inconsistent APY. Yield farming used to be lucrative in the initial days of DeFi, where users used to be rewarded with high returns. As the users flood to the highest yielding pool, and as the total value locked increases, it leads to a crash in the yield. The users are then forced to search for another high-yielding project and switch pools. Then we have impermanent loss. The price fluctuations of the underlying token in the specific pool could lead to a loss for the LP providers. To avoid impermanent losses, the users are on a constant never-ending search of better-yielding projects to switch to. What if there was a way to avoid all of this and still make bank? Today, I speak to the founder of Rocket Vaults to find out how. But before we do, yes, again, we have another $100 of crypto up for grabs, so make sure you read the description below to understand exactly how you can enter. And lastly, come on over and join the Telegram community over at Decentralized Chain, where we discuss a lot of these projects way before I make the video. Let's get into it. So, Kieran, welcome to the show. Great to have you here, and super pumped to be talking about Rocket Vault. So, without going into too much detail, and I think we're going to change up these sessions just to kind of get our viewers exactly what they need to know about the project. How did the idea come about?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Firoz. Thanks for having me on the show. Really excited to be here and share more details about the project we're working on, and really looking forward to the launch that's going to happen in April.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the traditional markets, AI-based trading is already dominating the markets over there, the traditional markets. And we started off with traditional markets as such. And then we saw that there is an opportunity in crypto space. We don't see any major players out there. And then we thought, why not try our strategies in the crypto space? And we are blown away by the results, what we have been seeing over the past 2 years. And we thought, why not flip into a product which can be easily consumed by the end user, where they can minimize the risk and maximize their gains.
All about the gains, right? But without going into too much detail about probability theory, how does your platform work at a basic level?
Well, we have adopted a complete data-driven approach, and what we do basically is we feed our AI engine with data from multiple centralized exchanges as of now. And our AI engine reads the data, analyzes the data using data modeling techniques, and then it applies predictive analytics to identify the right certain patterns. And based on that, it identifies the risky assets, and it also identifies what are the high potential assets.
Now, I mean, sorry, go ahead. You're going to say something.
Yeah, and then it avoids the risky assets, and then it diversifies the portfolio across the high-performing assets to the minute level possible. That itself is not possible to achieve for any human in a manual way. So that's where the entire automated process takes over, and then that's what happens in the background. Okay. We minimize risk and maximize the gains.
Got it. And it's interesting you say that, because you're right. When you look at the everyday consumer, the way you've explained it is a number of steps and hops that they would have to manually do to try and even, I suppose, get to a fraction of being able to earn some of those yields by moving around funds from this pocket to that pocket. So with that in mind, Who is the actual platform targeted for then exactly? Because it kind of seems like you're almost simplifying the process. I mean, there's almost hundreds of tokens being released into the market every week, really.
Yeah, exactly. So, if you look at someone new who is entering the crypto space, it's basically confusing. And there are already thousands of tokens in the market, and there are tens of hundreds of tokens being launched every week. And it takes a toll on anyone to, get started, to understand the market, and there is a lot of emotion that comes into picture, which is majority of the reasons, which is the majority of the time is the reason for getting into some emotional trade, and then and sticking to that, right? So that's where we're trying to really make it simple for end user to just deposit into the vault, and then the high-end technology which we have developed, which runs in the background and takes care of generating the best returns for you.
So, I mean, talking about generating the best returns, right? Certainly it sounds like you're bringing a great opportunity to be earning some great yield. But I do have to say that it does feel like you're entering somewhat a crowded market. I mean, practically, I suppose every staking service or even exchange is a competitor for you. I mean, so how do you plan to win that market share and user confidence?
Well, yeah, that's true. There are a lot of players already out there, right? So we are in the DeFi boom space at the moment. So a lot of projects out there which are trying to do similar things. But what our USP is primarily, our approach to the current space itself. So typically, most of the projects out there are some kind of aggregator or trying to use smart contracts to generate the yield. Where what we do is bring in AI and ML into the picture. So right now, I don't see many projects that are backed by artificial intelligence and machine learning. That's one thing where we are different. And secondly, I would say the consistency, right? So most of the projects I see initially they offer a lot of APY, and as the TVL increases, the APY decreases, and the impairment losses, things like that. And our USP is consistent returns over a period of time, and it's not impacted by gas fee.
Okay.
And it's not there is no concept of impermanent losses. So these are some of the areas where we bring in the difference. And most important thing is whichever token you deposit into the vault, you get rewards in the same token. Let's say you deposit into USDT vault, you get returns in USDT. You deposit in ETH vault, you get returns in ETH.
That's pretty.
And based on the
yeah, no, go ahead, Kieran. I'll say my comment in a second, actually. And so based on the
based on the performance over the past 2 years, we are pretty confident that we're able to generate consistent returns. But yeah, I would also like to add the legal disclaimer that the past performance doesn't guarantee future results.
No, of course.
Yeah, but we can only talk about what has been already delivered, and we hope we continue to deliver.
No, it's interesting you mentioned about the topic of impermanent loss, because certainly it's one of the put-offs, I think, for a lot of people that ultimately go into various staking or farming mechanisms, whereby there is that concept of impermanent loss, and it's kind of like, well, how long do I have to leave it locked in for, in case there's a price appreciation or a depreciation, and then was I better off holding, or was I better off doing that? So that's pretty impressive. I think the other thing that you touched on, which I think is quite key, is really gas fees, right? Because at the moment, with the way Ethereum gas fees are, it really doesn't make it worthwhile to certainly even start entering into some of these staking mechanisms if you don't have a lot of capital to start with at the beginning. Because given the transaction fees, then I suppose users will wonder, was there any point in doing that in the first place, considering how much I've spent just to get into the smart contract versus how much I'm getting back out? So let's talk a bit about your token utility. certainly I know you guys are coming in with quite a low market cap, which is worth pointing out. And to that, you have two players. You have one that are looking to flip and sort of get back as much as they can before what they put in, and obviously there are those that are genuinely interested in yield. I mean, it's a very big space. So from that perspective, what utility does the actual token hold?
Yeah, we have a very interesting token metrics in picture. And if you need to use the vault services, you need to stake certain amount of RBF to start with.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for example, somebody wants to deposit $10,000 into the vault. You need to stake 50%, let's say $5,000 worth RBF tokens into the vault.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, first of all, it's a utility token to avail vault services. And the way we have put the structure in place, the more you want to deposit into the vault, the more RBF you need to stake. So our idea is to basically let the vault be available to the retail users as much as possible, and not let the whales take
Mm-hmm.
over all the available allocation. I mean, why I'm saying that is we're not going to have the vault open for unlimited funds as such. So we're going to have cap on the vault, and then we're going to slowly increase the vault as we progress, and the strategies automatically readjust to handle more volumes.
Mm-hmm.
We already have tremendous demand for the from our participants in the token sale itself to use the vault. And as more and more people use the vault, and they're able to see the results, what the vault generates, we believe with word of mouth itself, it is going to bring in a lot more users.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, talking about the vaults and obviously the project, I'm curious to find out a bit more about your teams, because there seems to be I've seen a lot of machine learning being thrown about, AI being involved as well. So, I mean, in terms of the team background, what can you share about yourself and the others?
Yeah, I mean, our team is pretty strong, both from the development perspective as well as from the business side of it. Combined, we have a combined experience of more than 2 decades in the financial services industry. I myself come from with 17 years experience in financial services industry. In my years of experience, I've been working with banks all over the world, trying to understand their problem and implement customized solutions to address their day-to-day issues.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so now the product which we're launching, I would say it's in the crypto space again, in the area of financial services. So this is what we have been doing day in day out for past 2 decades or so. So yeah, so we know what we're doing, and we're pretty confident about the product which we're coming up with.
That's always it's always reassuring to hear in that case. But I mean, also let's talk about some advisors, because I can see Ferrum Network is also listed. I'm curious, what's their involvement?
Yeah, it's a good point you mentioned. So we are being incubated by Ferrum Advisory Services, and Ferrum also advises our project. And from the time we started working with Ferrum, we can see the difference they are bringing in. They are in the space for from 2018 onwards. They've got a lot of connects there to bring a lot of value to the table. And they have very good influencer network as well, right? So they bring in the huge value to the table for our project, and we can already feel the difference. And working closely with Ian and Patrick, you must be aware of Ian. He's a wonderful guy,
Yeah,
and he's available all the time. Just a message away to always be there and help you when you need. So we're really excited to working with Ferrum and looking forward to the exciting times ahead.
So, I mean, talking about exciting times ahead, let's talk a bit about your roadmap. I mean, everything you've said so far sounds great, and certainly show me where to deposit my funds. But what do you have coming up in the roadmap? I mean, what are the next immediate steps that we should all be excited about?
Yeah, we're planning for a token launch in April, hopefully in the first half of April. And the next thing that comes up is the beta release for retail users.
Mm-hmm.
So we are, yeah. the development is happening really fast, and we have got some really cool integrations coming up with the project. Already we have integrated with the MetaMask. You could see that we had our own token sale page where people have given feedback about how smooth the entire process is, right? And we have some more exciting integrations coming up with the product to make it really easy for the end user to use the product. So hopefully sometime in May we should be able to release public beta for retail users, and then we will have additional features like referral program and things like that. Start with, we'll have USDT vault, and then we'll follow it up with ETH and BTC vault, because there's a lot of demand from the community. Everybody wants to hold ETH, right? So
no, exactly. Everyone's got lots of Ethereum.
Yeah, a lot of demand from the community that they want ETH vault and BTC vaults, and we are open for other vaults as well. So when we hear from the community, we try to adopt and accommodate those requests. And and finally, maybe within the first quarter of the token launch, we are also planning to release public beta for institutions and HNI. Okay. So with public beta for retail, the maximum one can deposit is 100K, and above 100K, you need to go use the public beta for HNI and institutions.
Yes, I like the mechanism you were talking about earlier, which is in order to actually participate, and rather than just chuck money into the vault itself, there's always you need to also purchase the tokens, which I quite like because it kind of brings the two together. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and you touched on it before, which is you're kind of addressing a lot of the community's needs in terms of various vaults that are sort of coming up down the roadmap. And equally, when it comes to community, any project in crypto is only as strong as the community behind it. Otherwise, you're pretty much dead in the water. So I'm curious, in terms of being loyal to your supporters, how do you keep them on board post your launch, post the, because there's these phases that we have the hype moment, which is obviously the project's ready, it's getting launched, and there's lots of people coming in and talking, and there's the hubbub around that. Then you've got post launch, and then sometimes there's a bit of a lull. But I'm curious, how do you keep your community engaged with you throughout this process?
Well, to start with, we have RVF staking module also coming up along with the public beta for retail users. So you can stake RVF and you can earn fixed returns on RVF, because here, the more you want to deposit into the vault, the more RVF you need. So, this is, I would say, one of the few projects where the community is really holding the token and looking forward to use the product. If you look at the chat in our Telegram, people are pretty excited for the vault release and to use the product more than just flipping the token as such. There may be few, but we can't help it. But majority of the community, they're looking forward for the product release. So that's really encouraging for us. And the way we have designed the token metrics, as I said, the more you want to deposit in vault, the more RVF you need. If somebody is planning to flip in sell it for a quick flip, I'm sure there are other users who are wanting to buy it. If they want to deposit more money into the vault. So we have pretty interesting dynamics over there with respect to token. Looking forward to see how it folds out. As I said, we also have a staking mechanism coming up for the RVF token. And so we're blessed with pretty strong community. We have been interacting with the community for, I think, more than 5-6 months now. We have all the supporters from day one till intact in our chat for the product. So really excited to see how it spans out.
Perfect. Well, look, it is great to hear that community is certainly at the heart of what you're doing. And look, Kiran, thank you for your time today in terms of walking us through Rocket Vault. Super pumped and really looking forward to the launch and the product within a month, I hope so. So, look, any last words? Where do we need to go to find the latest and greatest when it comes to Rocket Vault?
Sure. We are equally excited about the upcoming days and months, token launch and followed by product launch. and I would really like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to be on your channel and also interact with all your followers. So before we close the call, I would request all those who are watching this video, you can follow our official Twitter and Telegram, and look out for the announcement so that you don't miss on the exciting things that are going to come out in the next weeks and months to follow.
Perfect. Well, look, thanks a lot, Kiran, and all the best. Looking forward to the launch. Speak to you soon.